Can mute yourself, Victor. Okay. My namesake, Kathy, without a second name. Expectations, highlights for this seminar for today. Anybody? From pen to paper, from pen to paper. Anybody? Nobody else? Okay. Anybody else who would like to say anything? Okay. Okay. So I'm sure you can put it on the chat. No problem about that. You can always put it on the chat. We'll keep reading them and we will keep highlighting them as we try and get it all going and get it all running. Okay, great. Okay. So last week, succession planning. We talked a lot around the issues of why succession planning is important, the definition of succession planning, what we should be looking at the organization, the principles of succession planning, and things like that. And I will quickly just highlight for the people who are not in. And as I do that, then my name is Catherine Omwangi. I'm a facilitator with ACHRP. I love training. I also lecture at the HR college, the CHRP college. I teach training and strategy. So maybe if you're there, you will meet me if you're doing your certifications, if you have not finished it. I'm also a human resource practitioner of many years, having worked in various sectors. So we are all here to learn, and that's what I keep on saying. When we combine our years of experience, there will be thousands and thousands of them, the skills that we bring together, but more so we should be able to network and be able to take it to the next level. So that's me, and I believe that anybody can train. So training is fun. So take it up to the next level. Yeah, I can see so well. So succession planning, when we look at it, many organizations shy away from it, and we only tend to look at succession planning from the C-suite instead of cascading it all the way down into the levels of the organization. But we also know that it's because either we are not brave enough or we want to keep in our silos. We know it's a best HR practice that succession planning is in place. And everybody agreed that we all have it in mind. You know, if the CEO was to leave, who would take over his job, for example? If the CEO was sick, like last week, we had the CEO who was not feeling well, and something needs to, the organization needed to continue running. And what did they do? We also talked about critical positions around, have you mapped out your critical positions in your organization? What are your critical positions? Is the lowest level, is the lowest job in your organization a critical position? You know, and let's, even when you do a job evaluation, sorry to digress, is that there are two jobs you don't even bother evaluating. That's the very top job and the very bottom job. And I don't know what your bottom job in the organization, but what we keep on saying is that every job is extremely crucial in your organization. Every job, whether it's a driver or the office assistant or the quality assurance person, marketing, whatever jobs you have in the organization, they are critical. But how do you map up your critical positions for you to be? Oh, we can't see you clearly. I've asked my people to come and try and get my background right. So sorry, guys, I will try and move. And I can't even tell you why I can't move from this position for now, unless you stay until after 1 hour. I'll tell you why I can't move from this position. So sorry about that, but someone is trying to organize for me a better background. So I've lost my trail of thought around critical positions. Have you been able to map them out? If you are in an organization that has 1,000 people, how many of those are your critical positions? You might have 20 drivers, maybe saying that that's one your critical position. Your MD, HR, is it a critical position? Whom have you taken in your organization as a critical position. And let me just challenge you, it doesn't necessarily mean that your HR director is a critical position. It could be that your HR officer would be the critical position. HR, yes, we agree, one of the positions is HR, but at what level in your organization is it a critical position? Is it at the director's level, or is it at the officer's level, or is it at the manager's level? And of course, because the criteria of critical positions means that if this position was not occupied by XYZ, there would be a problem in the business. That's what it means. So does it mean that the person with the highest ranking person is the critical position, or is it a level down for us to be able to understand and to appreciate that critical positions are extremely important in the organization? And that's why I keep on saying that we need to be alive to the fact that that needs to be done for us to have clear succession planning. We also talked about talent pools, why talent pools are important, the perceptions about talent pools, what happens in talent pools when we put 3 HR people in the talent pool, and if they don't get to the level that they want pretty quickly, and we'll continue having that discussion around talent pools, why they're important. Someone also had a very good discussion around that they have a real strong graduate employee program, those programs from graduate trainees from various universities. They come and they join the organization, and after they join the organization, what happens? Going to all the departments, and after that they settle into one. So from there, does it mean that they are really they become a real good fit for the organization? But also now going further, it also means that that's one program in terms of your manpower planning. Graduate employee programs are part of your management manpower planning. And does it really translate into succession planning? That's very important. So if you have all these fancy programs, your training programs, your graduate programs, your coaching programs, everything that goes with it. And of course, I love coaching. I'll never stop talking about coaching because I'm so it's really coaching and stuff like that. So extremely important. So I love that. And then what are some of the things that you need to do? But one of the things that we really emphasized in that webinar was the fact that you need to be brave enough to come and say, we are looking into making sure that this organization is stable. If XYZ position was not occupied, then we would really have a big problem. And that's why we need to have succession planning. So succession planning is not something for the future. We wait. It could come as close as tomorrow, because again, we say that people leave organizations, people are terminated for one thing or another, and people also die, something that we don't like to talk about too much, you know. But yeah, and if they were holding a critical position, then are you ready for succession planning? So that's important. Okay. Anybody else? A recap? What are today's expectations? Anybody? Priscilla Gitao? You're the second on my
it's Priscilla Gitu.
Gitu.
Priscilla Gitao.
No, it's Gitu, sorry. Gitu.
Yeah, it's Gitu. My expectation last week, thank you. Last week I didn't manage to attend. I wasn't feeling well. I was seeing a doctor. Thank you. My expectation today is to know about succession planning where politics are involved. Outside and inside politics. You have your database and you know who is to take over after this and this happens. But because of the politics surrounding the situation, your hands are tied. My expectation among many is that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Priscilla. Around the politics, which we also touched on last week, very important. Someone else? Sheila Hassan, expectations? You can unmute yourself. I just read names from the screen. Expectations? Caroline? Oh, yeah. Okay, Sheila. Yeah, and then Caroline, yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
my expectations would be more or less in the same line with the Priscilla. Basically, it's just politics. I think that is where most of us are at today. You know, yeah, politics and nepotism. If I can dare say that too. Yeah, because we are faced with the same in our organization, or let me just say my former organization.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Around politics, how we play them and how they turn out to be. Okay. Caroline? Caroline, expectations? Sorry to put you on the spot, but sometimes I just take the teacher-led approach.
Okay, I think my expectation, when I saw this class and after the approval of our concept note, I just wanted to know, because then for us it was approved that we use a consultant to help us piece through quickly. We already had our drafts of whatever we were looking for internally, but then also just to give me more clarity even as I engage with the consultants in the coming month, because I work in a political space. So I hear what Purity was speaking about, and also now engaging a consultant. I would like just to pick more grasp, because in any space, as you work with a consultant, it's also good for you to understand what you're talking about, and also clearly understand what is expected. So with what I read in the previous, at least in the previous class, then with also what it will also give me good grasp, and also when our team members are discussing with the consultant, that is not in a very, very new field. So my expectation is just to up the game, continue to have more information and succession planning. Thank you.
Fantastic. Up your game, know how to work with a consultant, just to make sure that even if they're the experts, they're coming to help you, that you're also on the right path. I keep on saying, guys, if you are ever to take a consultancy, you win a consultancy, and I'm sure many of you do that, maybe on your side gig, or maybe even you work with consultants as an associate. And I keep on saying, if you want to start your consultancy business, go to a consultant who is already established and tell them that allow me to shadow you from time to time when you have work. Give me to work as an associate. And that's how you learn. That's how I've also learned over the years. Work with an associate, and then when you get a brief, you know that you can run with it and stuff. Unfortunately, I have been to places where I've been asked to do consultancy, and they say, well, this is the previous one that was done by consultants XYZ. And when you look through it, it's not a thorough job. It's not something that you are very proud of, that your other HR did. You get what I mean? It has gaps, it has things like that. So I keep on saying, build your name around doing a good job, because you're helping a client and you don't want someone else to come and take your work and poke holes on it. That's extremely important. And if you are just not very sure, go to your peers and say, well, what do you think about this? How is it? And stuff like that, so that you really leave a rich heritage and rich work that someone else can continue building. So, and of course, you don't go and say, well, oh my gosh, Catherine did such a shady job to the client, that whatever. You're just thinking in your head, I have to find her. Not so good, so you don't also malign the name and stuff like that, but you just look through and say, well, it's not complete. It's not really complete. So you need to be aware of that. Even as you work with consultants, it's important for you to know your brief, to know your TOR, so that you're able to push it. And you know that the consultant is actually doing the right think so. Always like that, okay? So thank you. Anybody, before I share my screen? Is my background better?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Better now.
Fantastic. Better now, yeah. I saw someone here, different time zones. My eyes like this anyway, but that's good. Okay, so we can, I can share my screen and around, so tell me when my screen comes through.
Yeah, it's on.
We can see it.
You can see it now? Great.
Yes,
you can.
I like to start with stories, real life stories around the good, the bad, and ugly of HR so that we can drive it and we can see how it is. So we have my friend and I keep saying because the right I can get some funding for the NGO. My friend and I run an NGO called Enable. Enable has been in existence for the last 10 years. We've done a remarkable job. And sometimes when I introduce myself, I tell you that I like coaching in the disability space. And this NGO works with blind children around the country. And we're trying to expand to other countries. So don't even ask me when I do that job. I do it sometimes. So we run this NGO. We have about staff of 20. We are very passionate about it. My partner sits in the US, and she's actually the one who is more really hands-on. So when I coach around the disability spaces, children with high school children who are actually going to university, because the blind do go to university. A couple of them do go to university. So, it's we have 9 blind schools in this country. Maybe some of you do not know, but right now we are in 4 blind schools in the country: Likoni, Siaya, Thika, and Meru. Very, 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 very endearing. Just close your eyes and imagine that you do not see. That one day you woke up and you did not see. So that's why my passion comes from there, and it's really nice for the last over 10 years now. So last week, or maybe a couple of whatever, we said we want to now, we want to give this NGO some lift around us not being the face, but we employ a CEO, let's call, a country director. If in the NGO space, you call them country directors or country representatives or presidents or whatever fancy name we give them. So we went looking out, and we didn't, of course, have a very big budget for the position, but it was reasonable and around the benefits and stuff like that. So we started looking, but unfortunately, the person who worked for us for a long time felt that they needed to. They were up for the job, but we knew that maybe they're not ready. They're very strong in programming and stuff like that, and it got very difficult for us to be able to recruit the person, because they kept saying, can you imagine 2 founders who are not able to recruit a CEO? Until today, we still do the work, and don't ask us whether we are weak or whatever it is, we can have that conversation. Is because the program manager actually said that I'm able to do this job. And it became very difficult, but because he's a very valued member of staff, and he does great work around what we do, we've not been able to recruit a CEO, because he feels that he's up for the game. We know that there are many areas that he's not able to do that, but he's very strong in programming. So we've been in a dilemma how to just take around. And I'm asking this so that you can help me. What would you do if every time you try and do that, you can see the bottlenecks? You know that when the CEO comes, it's not going to be successful. We know that we need to go to the next point of game so that we attract more funding and we get more funding and stuff like that. But we know that the program manager will be a bottleneck. What would you do? Because we've been trying to do it year in, year out, and maybe also ourselves saying, well, we can save more money, we can do this, but it's time for us to be able to have that arm. So succession planning around ourselves in an organization that is very dear to me, but we are not able to do it. You see, politics from within and without. What would you do? Fire them program manager because you're even the owner of the business? Would that be that's the first thing that you would do? Up for discussion, real life story. If it was your business, what would you do? Anyone? Pointers to go and try and implement for me? Real life story. Please help me. Anyone? Anyone? Real life story. What should we do? Yeah.
Okay, I feel, this is Mary.
Yeah, hi Mary.
I'm fine. I feel like the best thing would be to first show the team importance of even bringing ideas from outside and put those ideas there so that they're able to see even the kind of a person who is going to come on board, that first and foremost to tell them that we are all important, we are all playing our roles, but there are certain things that cannot be performed by a certain individual. So still bringing ideas from outside would help the organization grow and even move a step further. So that's what I would start by telling this person. Yes.
Okay. Have a conversation, let them see the bigger picture. Yeah, we've tried that. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take it back again, no doubt. Something that I keep on saying, these are the areas. Well, but I can improve. I know them. You know, what are you talking about? These are things that I've been here for 5 years. So why aren't you giving me the job? Those are the kind of conversations we have with them. Someone else?
No, my name is Rhoda. Hello.
Who's on the line?
Can you, Rhoda?
Hi, Rhoda.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
Now, my conversation around the issue would be we are bringing a new blood. Of course, the thing that I am actually concluding from their culture and quote. So they feel like if someone else comes in, the whole thing might be disoriented and changed and all that. So I'm feeling like there is some fear of change in their culture, and also like they also feel like the new person is like a threat to them or something like that. Maybe, and you know, anytime you bring a new blood, it brings some new ideas and the change of the culture. So I think they are too much stuck to the culture that they feel that they don't want to change. My sentiments.
Okay. So how would you help? What would you put in place around fear of culture, fear of change, feeling that a sense of, well, I've been here for a long time. How can you help this person?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, Mary again.
Yeah, hi,
In
Mary.
terms of, I'm fine. In terms of helping this person, I think maybe we can introduce the change management process whereby we can invite somebody from outside to come and take us through, okay, take that team through the change management so that can try also to have this person see things from a different perspective. And probably through that, the person now will be able to see, is it true? Yes, it can happen like this fear that I'm having, or maybe because of many people look at the power. I've been able to do this for 5 years, so I've been traveling, I've been doing all that. So through maybe a consultant who really understands this can enable this team to understand and therefore embrace the change and see it for the betterment of the organization and not an individual per se. Thank you.
Wow, yeah, true. Yeah. an outside person. So one of you will write me a proposal to come and do consultancy after this. Anybody else? Thank you, Mary. That's a very good pointer. I like that. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah. Well, Kennedy.
Hi, Kennedy.
Yes. From my perspective, I think organizational policies are supposed to guide the management in making such decisions. So, from my own point of view, I'll go for, I will come up with a policy. If it's not there, or now the transition is going to take place. Because organizational politics are all over. In every organization, you find organizational politics. So my way of handling it, I'll look at it from the policy point of view, where I'll come up with a policy that addresses all these issues about the politics of within and without. You know, these politics are, some of them, for example, you find that a manager inside the organization has an interest in a certain person or candidate. And maybe a person from outside, that is, let's say, an investor in the company, will also want to bring another person from outside. So I think for the organization, if most of them, I know most of them do not give HR that opportunity to bring these issues, but where I'm given this opportunity, I'll come up with a policy which will tackle all this, which will help, even if I'm not around, the others to make decisions concerning succession planning. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Kennedy. A real good recap around organization policies, the procedures that we have in place. Are they strong enough to warrant us to make changes without any interference and without people forming silos and without people forming camps and stuff like that? And being strong enough to be anchored. And if I was not there, that's what I keep on saying. If you were not there today, you as an employee of XYZ or even running your business, would your business run? If today, if you were to be sold for your organization, it was a going concern and you are told, would you like to buy it? Would you bid for it? Is it a good business to buy? Or even if it was given to you as a gift, you've been the most productive person. You are the person to run this business. We love you and we've gifted this to you. Would you actually take it? Those are the two things I keep asking myself. If I was to be given this business, would I run it and would I take it? So another day, just the last one before we really dive into this, because it actually just forms up part of the process. We went to, we got our consultancy again. And this organization was going through changes. They wanted us to see, is this organization fit enough for us to take it to the next level? And it's in the IT space, doing very well. And since it's a family-owned business, they now know that they need to transform into being a really a business that people don't see it as a family-owned, professionally run, and they have been putting processes in place and everything. And you know what? One of the things that I really liked what the CEO did, and just one day when we were brainstorming and saying, how do you want to see it? I want to see people really owning this business and thinking it is their own. And he said, I will take 2 weeks off. So when we put the consultancy and whatever, called his team and said, you know, we need to give people in the organization an opportunity to step up. I will give someone to act as the CEO for 2 weeks, the project manager to act as a program manager. Everybody was just stepped up, you know, and it was from the most unlikely quarters of when you look at their critical positions, who's holding it? Is it the person says no? I don't see them being able to step up. I mean, they think they are, but I think this other person is whatever. Of course, it caused a lot of uproar, you know. If I thought I was the one and it's Priscilla who was picked, okay, let's see what they're going to do. But there was a lot of buy-in. And the brave fact that the CEO said, don't call me for 2 weeks. I will not take any phone calls. You make decisions as if I was not there. And guess when he did this? At a time when they had a real big project cutting off for a client. Money at stake, reputation at stake, ability to execute the project at stake, because he's a very good techie as well. It was really nice. Would you be able to do that in your organization? Would your CEO say, I'm going off 2 weeks, the CFO, we are taking off, you have the mandate to run the business, and you come back? What do you think? What do you think happened during those 2 weeks? Through changes, and all of a sudden, and you even sit in my office, don't sit in your office, you come and sit in the office as the CEO. Get into my office, get into my seat. Me, first and foremost, if they appointed me in that position, I would never move from that seat. Atakuja jipatiana ofisi, nilisha occupy na nikachukua kiti na meza na kila kitu. What would you do? What do you think happened with that kind of an arrangement? A real story around, this is how I want. Quick, fast, and let's see how people think about this organization. Someone?
Kennedy again.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kennedy. We can hear you.
Yes, I think there were chaos. There were chaos because if there's no guidance on what is supposed to be done, and people are just there to exercise a role that they are not briefed about, I think there were chaos from my point of view.
Okay, there were chaos. Okay. Thank you. Someone else? What do you think happened those 2 weeks of people stepping up into roles that they don't manage on a day-to-day basis? Anybody else?
This is Lillian. I'd like to contribute.
Yeah, hi, Lillian.
Hi. I think to some it was a good opportunity to showcase their talent. And then, of course, there are some who it probably worked out negative because it was too challenging for them. But on the positive side, I think the ones, because most of the time you find the people at the middle level are the ones who actually do the work. So you kind of have, you have the ability. It's just that at the higher level, it's more of guidance and decision making. Thank you.
Guidance and decision making. Yeah, from chaos to an opportunity. Am I able to learn? What am I getting out of it? Am I scared? Do I feel I'm ready? Was I given enough time? Someone else? One more person. Please unmute yourself. How do you think it went?
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
This is Alice.
Yeah, hi, Alice.
Hi. I think I'm just imagining the person who was acting as the CEO must have been terrified, first because of the expectations and the fact that, they knew that was that would either determine whether they continue working there or not. So most likely they pushed themselves beyond their capacity, and probably he or she discovered that they actually had some skills that they did not imagine. And I can also imagine that the entire team depended on them as the acting CEO. So there are those who undermined his capacity, but there are also those maybe who supported him, and he also had to be there for the others who are feeling, like you are exposed, you've been given this opportunity and you have to deliver. So I think it was a mixed feeling, but at the end of it, I'm sure each person was able to determine what they could do, and probably they shocked themselves at what they were able to do. Thank you.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So between chaos and getting clarity, it was. So what we did also as consultants, we actually we we were not there full time during those 2 weeks, just to make sure that we are not seen as if first that we are spying. That was very clear, but also we held the fact that we are holding you accountable during this time. So when the plan was put in place and there was a town hall meeting and we said, this is what we would like to do after the C-suite has been whatever, there was a lot of questions, a lot of excitement, a lot of, this is the person who has been chosen, Lillian over Catherine, Kennedy over Mary, things like that. And we said, this is what it is. Been working here, and this is how the MD wants to look at this organization. He wants you to showcase the possibility of you taking this organization to the next level if you are given. Really pointers around on the business. Take it to the next level. Work as if it is yours. Motivate yourself. Show skill, and of course, yeah. So, yes, there were those people who are saying, okay, so we never thought that you would be given this opportunity and you took it over this person. So around reassuring and making sure that that was done, other people saying, yes, that is it. But the team who really drove that, because it was the projects team, the support team and the finance team and, those ones of, let's see what they're going to do. We have a big project coming up and everybody really stepped up in terms of what they were able to do. The client was happy, the MD was happy. There were many things that they learned and said, we just didn't know how difficult it is to run a business of that magnitude for me to be able to make a decision. I'm making a decision of lots and lots of revenue turnover. What am I going to do? The CFO is not here. What are we going to do? What happens? And this is the payroll. When do we pay payroll? Of course, the payroll officer was there, and to be able to help, he had also gotten another role. So between organized chaos, as really Kennedy said it, to what Lillian said in terms of, am I going to step in? Am I going to be able to do it? So people learning and just saying, well, it's not easy. And the people, the naysayers of saying, oh, well, I've been left out, of course, still went on feeling bad about it. But how do we make sure that we pull in these people of feeling that they have been left out, they were not given the opportunity? What do we do? So opened up discussions around culture in the organization. Do we have open communication? Are we authentic? Are we able to say, I don't like Catherine because of A, B, and C, not attacking Catherine, but attacking what Catherine does. That's the problem that we have as individuals. You didn't do this task well. You let down, you didn't meet the deadline, meaning that I was not able to start my task on time, and everything happens like that. So really good. It just opened a whole new way of learning in that organization. That was point number one, a whole new way of learning in that organization. Point number two, around looking at individuals and saying, can I rely on you as a team member? Can I really come to you when I have a problem? How do I feel? And then these just saying, this is your company, let's work together as what it is. So really good. Very commendable. I've not gone to another consultancy of someone coming and saying whatever. We've always given that story to small SMEs or family businesses, and many of them say, no, they're not ready. They can't release the checkbook to someone else, but that organization had already grown a little bit more in terms of, they were very stable in their revenues and stuff like that. So they didn't mind the revenues being seen. So stuff like that. So in your organization, if you work for a family owned business, or if you work for a small organization, leave the big multinationals and the government and parastatals, is it something that you see that the owner of the business is able to do? Or even if you own a business, are you able to do that? The politics that come around it, the children are there. One of the children actually worked there as an officer and stuff like that. Just being able to do that. Yeah, okay. Any final comments on that? Anything? Would you be brave enough to do that if it was your business? Would you be able to do that? Or you hold on to it and
my name is Priscilla.
We don't know. We are not there. We all run helter skelter. Yeah. Hi, Stella, we didn't hear you. Can you hear her? No? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm Priscilla.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if I was the CEO or the owner of the company, I would let it go, because if we have policies and procedures, all policies and procedures in this country, I believe, are strong. They are not weak policies. It is us human beings who are weak. It's us who are unable to let go. So I believe if I want growth, I should let my company go, and I should appoint people to oversee it. Maybe I should just be a director looking from afar, and maybe consulted from time to time. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
Yeah. If it was your business, that's what you're saying, you would let it go. You would, you have no fear of letting other people come into the business. And that's what it is. Even at our workplaces, those politics that come into play, which we keep on saying, oh, well, they won't let go. They go with the files at home. They will not go on leave and stuff like that. So don't we know those people all the time who just don't want to let go? Even when they are due for retirement, they will not go. They will hang around the corridors and make sure that they feel indispensable, that we can't do without them. Okay. So some of the factors. Hi.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
This is Milka.
Yes, hi, Milka.
Yeah, allow me to contribute on that.
Yeah.
If I was that CEO, I would allow them. You realize that in most organizations, the CEO does not hold all the competencies for him to run that organization. And so he's dependent on the competencies around him. So, like, I remember there's a time in our organization, the HR director just stopped working. He just left. And he didn't say why he was leaving. He didn't give notice. And being his junior, there are gaps I would see from my seat. And so given that opportunity, I took up that opportunity to now implement what should be implemented. And I think it should be taken positively. And if you get such opportunity, I would advise you fly with it, because your juniors at any point see the gaps that are on your desk. And given opportunity, they would even do better.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, we must be able to make people successful. That's what I keep on saying. Please make sure that you employ people who are better than you. Do you ever do that? Or you feel that they will shine away because of the kind of culture that you have there? You know, if you have a good culture, employ people who are better than you. They will do such a good job. You'll always be shining. You'll shine with them. That's what I keep on saying. And bring them and just tell them, I want you to be better than me. This is what I know. This is what we should be doing. And in every department, you know, when being in control of recruitment, of course, the hiring manager has the final say in terms of whatever, but in whom they recruit. But we are here as a panel to make sure that the people who come into this organization have the right skills, have the right attitude, have the right experience. They're a good fit for that job. And if they are better than all of us in terms of what they bring to the table, then we never have a problem. We're able now just to put them into their business. We're able to show them the strategy, the objectives of the organization, of the department and stuff like that. But many of us really, I don't know where that fear emanates from. Yeah, so it's important that we start thinking about succession planning around that area. So if this person was to leave, who would be the likely successor? And we say that it's not in the pecking order of, it should not be looked at like that. It's not rather obvious that if the HR director leaves, the HR manager is the one to come and get the job. You know, you remember the case of KCB? I forgot to, when the CEO, they had a very good succession planning with the current CEO, where he started doing a lot of, he understudied the CEO who was there. What was his name? You know, and that was the one case of good succession planning in this organization.
They knew that when this CEO leaves, then we are ready for this CEO. Fantastic. That's the one time where we say real good succession planning. The Strathmore University also has a VC designate in waiting. If this VC is leaving, he's already understudied and stuff like that. Do you have that in your organization? Already earmarked and saying, this is the successor, this is what we are going to do, or it's just shrouded in mystery. In the board, we can't, no, it's Catherine, but we will not say, and it is, you can't say. You can't say, let people know that this is what we have decided as a business, and people feel that they are capable of doing it, and then let's give them the support that they need, okay? So I don't know whether that is something that would happen in your organization. But as we are all saying in this webinar, is that when you have policies, you have standards, you have procedures, that should no brainer. But of course, people don't want to follow those procedures and policies. And it makes it very difficult for HR to get into the space of succession planning in a very systematic way in the organization. Okay. Well, we can talk about this topic until the cows come home because I'm so passionate about it. When gaps are left, when there are things that we do not have in the organization, we get into chaos. It just shows how far removed we are from reality and from the business. Okay. So what are some of the factors that we should consider? So we have all these, we think that it's fine for us to have a succession planning program. We have it. What are some of the factors that we should consider in succession planning? Even let's just say, let's take a position in HR because majority of us here in HR. So what are some of the factors that we should consider in succession planning? When we want someone to say, we are taking XYZ we are training them to be the next director. What are some of the things that we should take into consideration? Very quickly. Very quickly. There can be as many as we are on this webinar. Please share. Someone who has not shared. Welcome to the people who have continued to join. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You could think of someone with passion for the job.
Passion for the job. How do you measure passion? Passiometer. What did those MPs say? Did they finish the Jerusalem dance? Please, someone tell me and send it to me. Kiarie, is it Kiarie who spoke? How do you measure passion? Or how would you know that someone is really passionate about this job?
Catherine.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Alice Kiarie. Now, I think through observation, because when someone is passionate about something, they will always be championing it and driving it. So you can see, and actually even when they are doing that task, you can see the energy, the excitement. So it's something that you can really, if you're keen on observing, you can be able to pick whether someone is passionate about a particular thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. By observation, for you to know someone is really passionate about something, it's more through observation. And what Lisa said, and the gentleman before, I didn't get your name, thanks for your contribution, is really, they exude zeal. They love it. No matter what challenges come their way, I'll champion it. This is something really good and I believe in it. They just never fear along the way, tire, and they drive it. They want to go by, they want to see the success out of it and things like that. Anything else about passion? So passion is very visual. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm good. Also, there's something about the attitude. The attitude of the person should be positive. If somebody has a positive attitude, he or she will be able to go and do what is supposed to be done at the right time.
Attitude, a positive attitude, and I keep on saying it's important for us to be able to define attitude in the best, in the right way. Because when half the time is when we say they have an attitude, what do we always refer to? A negative attitude, isn't it? And because we've always, that's the norm. But I keep on saying that in HR, we must be able to say, you have a good attitude. You have a wrong attitude towards this. And what makes you have a wrong attitude towards this? That we feel that you have a bad attitude towards this. Tell us so that we can help you. So let's define attitude. And I like what Chep Kiru is saying. We must be able to look at the attitude. Again, attitude is more, it's visual. You know, how your demeanor around something. You can see someone, their demeanor is off and stuff like that. They never just show up right in this, you know, they always have negative attitude around it, negative energy, negative vibe. And those are people that you do not want to work around, isn't it? So always present a good attitude around things, no matter how difficult they are. But even if they're so difficult, then point them out. It's never that serious. It's not good. We don't like it and stuff like that. Instead of all now going and infusing other people and the grapevine meal talk around there and stuff, and we start having all that, and it doesn't grow the organization as well. And one of the things that really kills succession planning, and we talked about it last week, is the rumor, gossip, and the rumor mills around the coffee pot. You know, people are not just saying exactly what they feel, what they say. Oh, so, I heard Catherine is getting into the talent pool. She doesn't deserve it. It's because she's the pet of the department and she doesn't whatever. And people have not actually just sat down to understand. And people are quick to judge and are quick to take the wrong information to other people. So even in organizations, how do we guard that against people taking the wrong information to other people? That's extremely important. Yeah. Okay. Another factor. Thank you.
Let me chime in. Good morning, Catherine.
Yeah, please.
Good morning, fellow learners. I think what I would add into this is to look at the teachability in quotes of the person. Is this person going to be able to be coached, to be mentored? Is he ready to learn?
Okay.
Yeah.
Ability to learn, ability to get to the next level. Are they teachable? You know, do they have, can we call it a teachable spirit? Something like that.
A willing spirit.
A willing spirit, yeah. Ability to come, you know, you learn, like all of us here, what do we want for ourselves, you know? Are we learning? Are we getting to the next point from print to action and stuff like that? So ability to learn. And the definition of training, if you won't take anything else from this webinar today, is change of behavior and attitude. You know, I could be going for a technical training of to use this machine, very complicated and stuff like that, or a new system that has been introduced in the organization. If I don't have the right behavior and the right attitude, I will never be able to learn it. Even if you take me to the most exotic destination, I will just be, I'm at the Maldives, drinking my best cocktail over here on company's time, whining away, you know, but I'm still whining. And I really don't, I come back and I have not learned anything. So even when you go into your learning and development plans, do you see people with the right attitude? Are they the ones that you take for training? Are they the ones that really deserve training? Everybody in the organization deserves training, but even when you take people for training, are you reinforcing the values of your organization, the culture of your organization, in terms of making sure that people go out and learn and bring those new lessons into the organization and meeting their, and being able to meet the objectives that they went to learn out for? So yeah. Ability to be teachable, to learn new things, accommodate those new learnings, bring them back to the organization, put them into action, and for us to know that you are really a teachable person. So is teachable also a virtue? Is it what is this I'm trying to say? Do I see it? Is it something that I see in you, or is it something that I need to find out if you're able to do it? What do you think? Willingness to learn. Is it something that I observe in someone, or it's something that they need to go maybe through a test or something like that? Or is it a hybrid of both?
It's a bit of both. Sorry, Shaila here.
Yeah. It's a bit of both. Why do you say it's a bit of both?
Basically, from observation, you can't really tell if this person is willing. They have to have the drive.
Yeah, it's true. They have to have the drive. Yeah, it's visual. That's the word I was looking for. Is it visual? Do I see it? Yeah, you have to see that. Give someone a job and they say, yeah, let's discuss this. I like people who come and say, well, this I've been given this. You've given me this assignment. How am I going to do it and stuff like that? Yeah. Someone else. Another factor that we can consider. What are the factors to consider in your succession planning policy?
Hello.
Hi, morning, Charity.
Morning. This is Charity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can hear you, Charity.
I would say someone who is all-rounded in terms of they're able to have a bit of skill or a bit of grasp in all the areas. For example, someone in HR, but with a bit of muscle in finance, a bit of muscle in operation, a bit of muscle in marketing, or a bit of interest, so that when they go up there, they're able to have these, to be multi-skilled.
Okay. So an all-rounded person in understanding what happens in the business. Is that what you mean? Because we can't be...
Yes.
We can't be experts in everything. You get what I mean?
No, not experts, but just a grasp of something.
A grasp of what...
in what happens in the business as a whole.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And remember that what we're talking about succession planning is a very deliberate process around making sure that we have people to get to the next level of your critical positions or even in the organization, So if you're saying that we are going to have succession planning in the HR department, how we deliberately making sure that we do that. But one of the things I like about what Charity is saying about being an all-rounded person in the organization, especially HR and maybe even support services, is the ability to partner with the business. What's the core business in this organization? What's our core business? Our core business is, let's say, to offer training. Let's say ACHRP, let's take ACHRP as our company. We all work here, the 87 of us who have subscribed right now to this webinar. So let's say we're employees, and our business is to offer trainings. So we are known as the best to go to training people in the region, for example. So the 87 of us will have many departments. Maybe it will be the CEO, then there will be the marketing department, there will be the sales department, there will be HR, there will be finance, there will be maybe quality assurance and stuff like that. I'm just taking a visual view of people in training, a training company or something like that. So if we were to do that, then it's important for everybody to understand, because opportunities do knock anywhere. Are you the kind of person who goes to a cocktail, for example, and people talking to you and say, what do you do? Okay, I work for XYZ company, and that's it. Do you give people a two-elevator speech and let me tell you what we do? In fact, this is what we do. And maybe that's someone saying, oh, I've been looking for that kind of a service. Can I please come and talk to the person who whatever, and you sell the business. We are all in the business of selling our business, the things that we do. So it just doesn't mean that it's the people who are assigned to sell the products and the services. You are all ambassadors of your brand wherever you are. So I love people who come and say a 3-minute elevator speech and they have sold the business because they believe in the employee value proposition. So HR being business partners, strong business partners, and we know that every department, for me, I advocate support services must be strong business partners. So from today, in your departments, please change the tone of saying every support service must be a strong business partner to the business here. So I like that, an all-rounded person, ability to understand the business so that you can get better reach, especially if you're looking at senior positions for succession planning and not the very technical position where people really need to be experts. We need to have all-roundedness around the organization. Yeah. Someone else, factors to consider, some hard facts. Yeah.
Okay, hello, Catherine.
Yeah.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi. Yeah.
Oh, it's Mary.
Hi, Mary.
I'm fine. I wanted to expound on the point of teachability. That element of teachability means it is something that you can also observe. We are with these people and we are able to see them and we can hear them even during the meetings or anything, even if it is a task force or something, you will be able to identify these people. So in terms of that, you can see people who can be taught and they are able to take up that task. Then there is also the element of attitude, not that I'm repeating what has been said, but still attitude, we know we have positive and we have negative. So there are those people who are so good in that negative energy. They just have a lot of it and they still influence in that negative manner. So we're also looking at this positive attitude whereby you see their attitude, it also drives business. They're also able to influence others. And we know a leader, no matter what level, we will be able to identify this leader because they influence others to accomplish what has been what is already there to be accomplished. So in short, we are saying there are certain competences, there are certain skills that can be identified and we need to look at all of them. Then there is also something else in terms of decision making, because whenever we are having a team leader, there are those people who also make very good decisions. Of course, not every decision is good, but at least we normally say it is good to make a decision than not to make one at all. Even if you happen to fail, it is good because it will enable you to be able to come up with an action plan of a certain idea. So we need to look at even analytical skills, how is this fella and all that. So I would say most of even the soft skills, we need to consider all of them during the time we are making a decision on who to succeed who. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary, for really summing it up very well. I totally agree around the observation and you just emphasizing on the point around attitude, teachability, all-round person. And one of the things I would like to challenge all of us on this webinar, how is your ability to think critically and analytically? Critical thinking and analytical thinking, things that have not been, we didn't grow up with them too much around that kind of, that's not how we were wired and that's not how our schooling system is, unfortunately. So we only now are realizing in the 21st century that our children need to be better critical thinkers and analytical thinkers and stuff like that. And we started the new system of learning, the CBC, and hope it will take us to that next level. I really struggled with critical thinking, and I like to share this story because then it made me learn the hard way around going to a university where it was critical thinking. What is this critical thinking that the teacher cannot give me the answers to? You get what I mean? Around just going into focus groups and the way people discuss are very different from my undergrad. What are you guys talking about? And we were forced to think critically around what's going to happen. So it helps you have an independent mind, do more research, think what are the solutions towards it, and voila, maybe I found my calling in coaching, because then a coach will not give you any solution. So it's very important for us to inculcate the culture of critical thinking in organization. Critical thinking and design thinking is not a way of looking at things in a way that, okay, I poke holes. You could be poking holes, good holes, but you're actually coming up with solutions. And I like what we're all saying around negative influence. What do we do around negative influence? And if that is our culture, how can we continuously erode it for us to get to the culture that we want to do? If we have so much negative attitude in this organization, last week we came and said, I come in, I'm motivated, I want to work here. And then 1 month later, the attitude here, the culture here does not really, it's not good for me. and you slowly start getting demotivated and you don't want to take extra initiative because that's not the kind of culture. How can we make sure, even when we look at succession planning, our culture is also right around the people that we want to have in those positions? That's extremely important for us to have that. Yeah. I'll just pause very quickly and let's talk around negative attitude in the organization or a negative culture around succession planning, and what can we do about it? Every time we want to introduce something, there's always, no, they will not implement it. We'll do a survey, they will not implement it, we'll not do the survey. What can we do? Does negative culture come from the top, or it comes from the middle, or it comes from the bottom? In your view, where does it come from? Or it comes from everywhere, from the CEO who has a negative attitude and it's cascaded down to everyone. And his negative attitude in terms of culture, is it individual based or is it collective? Because it has a lot of influence in whether your succession plan will succeed or not. Anybody?
Catherine, Priscilla, I think it comes from all over, because like when you do a survey and you go to those employees and you get the data, then whatever they say you don't implement, then the negativity starts. And they go like, hawa watu hakuna kitu wanafanyanga. Even if you keep on telling them ABCD, they never implement. The organization is for a chosen few. That's the talk they have. So I think it's on both ways. Thank you.
So ability not to implement things that have been promised and people never thinking that that's going to be done. Yeah, both ways. Someone else? Negative attitude?
Catherine, sorry, I forgot. Let me add on that. Despite the fact that they were involved at the initial level, they were told, we are doing this and this will help the organization in ABCD. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Remember, in Kenya, most of the time we have a passive-aggressive culture. Very unfortunate, but that's the truth of the matter. Yeah. Someone else? Views? Views?
Hi. Catherine?
Yeah.
Mary again?
Yeah.
I would also say it depends. It can come from any angle, because one, we also have other groups, say like the unions. These are people who can either make or build an organization. Still, even these other levels, as I would say Priscilla was saying, there are those things that are probably started from lower levels, say for instance, depending on the organization, say from section level, and members try to tell even their HOD, this is what we would want done. Then after a while, nothing has been implemented. So those people, depending on their ability also to influence, you find that they can also create that, and that negative energy that I was talking about earlier, it also leads to that. So it means at the end of the day, this culture is influenced by anyone. But there's something we also talk about, the fish, it starts trot from the head. So it also means even the board of directors or that high level, they also have a lot within, they mean a lot within that particular organization. So in short, we are saying each and every person in an organization has a role to play, and anybody at whatever level can make things to move the way they can, whether negatively or positively. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. That's and I believe many of us would recognize and attest to the fact of what Priscilla and Mary has said, that it can be anywhere. If we can't reach the top and we can't talk to them because they are aloof, they are not approachable, they are not endearing, it becomes very difficult, and we form our own culture in there. at the bottom tier of the pyramid. You know, we have our own culture and whatever. And have you ever seen an organization where the driver is the one who says in this organization? They start something and it's the gospel truth, and it might not be the gospel truth because people believe in them and what they have said. Unions sometimes can really be, instead of being a true partner to the business, sometimes they can antagonize the business, but that's not what we want for unions, because unions are here to stay. I don't think unions are at any point a bad thing. You know, if you decide to have a union, you are entitled to your constitutional right, you're entitled to your organizational rights and stuff like that. So nobody should ever look at a union and say it's us versus them. We are trying to work together. It's just a way, it's an avenue of how things are done, and we should be able to embrace that. So just being, and HR is always caught around the conflict of where does my allegiance lie? Your allegiance lies with management, of course, but you must be able to look at what the union is saying and advise them appropriately. That is where we fail most of the time. So never fear working in a new unionizable organization or a company that has a union, because it really builds your muscles around your negotiation skills and stuff like that. So the new words that we're using in succession planning, I've heard about CFR, even in performance management. Who has come across the three letter CFR? Just put it in. Anybody? I'm sure you have. CFR? What does C stand for? Easy, Melo. F and R. Okay, and I'm sure you do this, but it's more systematic, and it's the new buzzword in town, and people are using it a lot, and we'll be able to have those kind of conversations. So CFR is conversations, feedback, and recognition. You know, and it's because you want to have conversations which are authentic, which are real, and which are tangible based on your capability and the competency pillars for each position. I just hope, my fellow HR practitioners here, that you have developed competency pillars for each position in your organization that will help drive succession planning. At leadership level, have you developed the competency pillars that an individual will need to have, and you're able to identify the gaps that they don't have so that you're able to give the appropriate interventions, either through training, coaching, work experience, exposure, and things like that. There are many training methods that you can use. So those conversations should be every day. You're doing a good job here, you didn't do a good job, what it is. So those conversations, it's conversations which are natural, and we are happy to have as line managers and people who support teams, and not just supervise teams, but we are now saying supporting your team to get to the next level of where you want them to be. Then feedback. Who's giving feedback? Who should be giving feedback? Who gives feedback? Who gives feedback? Is feedback one way or two way?
Can I respond? I think I'm Alice Mayaka.
Yeah.
I think feedback comes from the supervisor or the one in charge. You should continuously give feedback with a view to helping to improve whatever the shortfalls are. Thank you.
Okay. Alicia, feedback comes from the supervisor so that, and it's continuous to the person improve. And has someone else of a different opinion? Feedback?
Yes, I wanted to say feedback is a two-way, such that even after, say, like what Alice has talked about, the supervisor giving the team members that feedback, he or she needs also to get feedback from them so that they're able to continue fulfilling whatever they wanted to achieve. Thank you.
Yeah. So feedback now is a two-way process. It's not just you giving the feedback. I must be able to receive feedback from my team. How am I doing? How am I supporting you guys? Are we getting better? We're in this together. So feedback is a two-way process. The supervisor must be able to give feedback. The people must be able to give feedback to their supervisor. But the most important thing about giving feedback is the ability to accept feedback. Both ways, ability to accept feedback, and feedback should not be malicious, and feedback should be timely. Okay, what is recognition? In the area of performance management and succession planning, because you remember where we said all these things intertwine, all this succession planning, when you put it at the middle, excuse me, you will have all these facets that work around it. You know, your performance management, your training, you know, your compensation, all these things will actually anchor strongly in your succession planning programs. Recognition, what is recognition? Someone else? Recognition? Tangible and intangible recognition. Someone, please. Please, someone.
Can I speak again?
Yes, yeah. Thanks, Alice.
Yes. Yeah, recognition is like when you can applaud or give some honor for good performance. It can also be maybe a honors list or something like that, intangible. But you can also have rewards, monetary or some for a trip to some place for outstanding performance, and you can be given the roles of to play roles which are leadership because you are outstanding in some activity. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Alicia. Recognition, like we all say, is the ability to look at the individual on their own capacity and say, well done for a good job. We are going to recognize you, and you recognize them publicly. That's important. Yeah, XYZ has done a remarkable job. Driving this project. They were the champions, and they've done really well, or they took this initiative, they've been able to inspire others, or they have come up with this creative way or process of doing things. We are looking at agility and creativeness and innovativeness in organizations. That continuously becomes very important for us. So we are saying that recognition, monetary, and many people like that, no doubt. More money in our pockets, yes, of course. And thank you notes, all those things that really, and being able to be recognized that I can take up higher responsibilities. If there's a project coming up, I can be able to take up more projects. People believe in me, and people see the value that I can be able to put in this process. So another thing, learning out today, CFR, you know, and I'm sure you are doing it, but do it in a very systematic way. So we are saying conversations, feedback, and recognition. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So factors, and we have said that age of the candidate. Would you want to have in your talent pool someone who, and we say that there should be no discrimination. So tell me about this age of the candidate. What does that age of a candidate mean? Is it young, mid, age? What does it mean? When you look at that age of the candidate? Someone, please contribute.
Kennedy?
Yeah.
The age comes in mostly when you are looking at retirement.
Mm-hmm.
The age of retirement. Mm-hmm. So when you are considering succession, I don't think it will be feasible for you to choose a person or to select a person who is almost retiring. For example, someone with 1 year to retire, it will be, if you choose that person, it's okay, but I think that will be a little bit of it's a waste because this person is going. So if you invest on that person, a person who is going, you find that it's an organization you are losing. That is my point of view.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Someone who's nearing the retirement age, as much as we would like to put them in the talent pool 2 years into retirement to maybe put them in the succession planning of a CEO or even any other position, I think it would be foolhardy for an organization to do that. You would actually be investing in them and you would be taking your investment down the drain. We all agree to that. So you need to look even at the age. Are they here to stay and staff of length of service in that position? Past performance of the candidate, we already discussed that. Duties and responsibility, the teachability aspect, and qualifications. You need also to consider the qualifications of the candidate. So thank you. So age continues to be an important factor. But how do we now go back and say, oh, you've discriminated me. You are saying I'm 60 years, I can't get into the talent pool. What are you going to do to these candidates who are advanced in age, as we like to call it, so that we are correct in how we approach with our words? What do you do? So they go and say, they won't, nilisikia wakisema wenye watenda kwa talent pool ni wale ni vijana. Sisi wazee wameanza kutuambia hatuna nini, wanasemanga nini? Sisi wazee tufai kukua hapa. So how do we approach it with care and with the empathy that it deserves? Age of the candidate.
Maybe I can contribute on that and say that if you handle things from the policy perspective and right from the word go, like the way you are saying CFR, the conversations around these kind of things, if they are there from the word go as part and parcel of the organization, they are less shocking to such people. You have less informal talk behind the scenes because then they know that it is the culture of the organization. But if you don't have conversations around that and you put down a structure or a policy to that effect, you'll normally have this kind of people who will always complain.
It's true, yeah. So even from the very onset, thank you for that, and it's what it is around making these policies. You just don't wake up. You must interrogate them. What is our mean age in this organization? What are our critical positions? Where is our business going? Where are we going to be in another 5 years? Does our strategy inform us? So for you to be able to have these kind of policies in place. So you just don't wake up one day and say, a caveat, you must be able to bring in these conversations around, this is the data we have in the organization. This is how our business is run. If we put you and you are 2 years into it and whatever, but we still see a lot of value coming into you, we would want you to be the one coaching and leading in the succession planning programs and stuff like that. So people just feel that they've been able to be involved in the whole of these aspects so that you don't have those informal talks at the coffee place and the water dispenser where people talk all sorts of things which are not true. And sometimes even they are true, but we are not ready to unveil them, and they make it very difficult for anybody holding that information to be able to perform the way it's expected. Yeah. Like, aren't you all looking at cost of living adjustment now? People who have a calendar year or maybe bonuses, if you're able to offer bonuses this year. I know it's really been a tough year, but they always look at HR and say, Kola ningapi? Ama you guys don't have those kind of things. They look at you and they already assume, Kola will only be 2%. Oh, but I had A, but the board said 6. No, tuona watatukanyangia ni 4. And they are looking at you in the corridors wanting to ask you that question. That question, yes, is right, but you are not ready to give the answer, isn't it? So how do you safeguard confidential information until it is ready to be released? So you just, sometimes you just let it roam on the corridors because there's nothing you can do about it. Let it cause some bit of excitement as well. Okay. Anything around that? That everyone would like to. So age of the candidate is crucial factor to be considered while shortlisting for succession, as the age of the candidate should be such that they can hold the position for a long time before the event of their retirement or death occurs. Okay, length of service, we know that the length of service should be at least 4 years, depending on your culture and your organization, so that people have proven that they have loyalty in this organization. So what happens? Do you ever, do you ask questions like around, why did you leave your last employer? You've only been there for 2 years and you want to leave. Why do you want to leave? Do you still ask those questions? Are they important?
Yes, they are very, very important, because if somebody has like a CV that is 3 kilometers long, you know, they've stayed somewhere for 2 months, doing some place for 3 years, you are likely to be biased. You are likely to become subjective, in the sense that not all these organizations would be wrong. So you need to ask questions around that, because they might also not be there for long. They might just be looking for some place to improve their pay slip, just for them to sell it elsewhere. So you need to be, you need to ask that question, and with a lot of wisdom.
Yeah. I like it, yeah. With a lot of objectivity around it. That's what I keep on saying. Remember the conversations. Why did you leave? It's 2 years into this place. What have you learned out of it? What would you be bringing? And do you think it's too? Let them own it. Do you think it is too soon for you to be leaving your current employer? They say no, and then you ask, what have you done? You know, tell us what would make you want to leave 2 years. Have you learned the entire business cycle, your position? What have you left, the legacy that you have left? Do you think 2 years is long enough for you to have left a long legacy, improve the processes or the brief that you are, you know, things like that, with a lot of objectivity. Some places you might go and it is just not working for you, honestly. You step in there on the first day, you know, wrong decision, and you can't go back to where you came from. You get what I mean? So you as recruiters, we need to be extremely objective at the hiring stage, so that we don't lose a good candidate because of we are not interrogating why they stayed for 3 months, 6 months, and just to find out. Yeah, of course we want loyalty, because also recruitment is expensive and it takes a long time for people to come and fit in there. But remember also, if you're not people-centric, your culture is not right, no matter how much, what a good candidate you get, they will soon leave you. So it's also important for you to look into the data. How long are your people staying in the organization? And why are they staying? Why are they staying long? Keep doing it, keep improving it. Why are they going after a short time? You need to interrogate it and find out what is the problem. And also, if it's one department, zero it in and help that department, okay? And I'm sure you do all these things. So,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Ms. Catherine, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
On the length of service. I was just reading that part that says it's beneficial to not consider candidates with less than 6 months of service in the organization, a succession position. I was just wondering, like in our case, we didn't have director positions were in our establishment, but we did not fill them for the longest period. And early this year, we filled the director position. So it means they are hardly 8 months. According to our placement plan, the directors, between the 4 directors, one would be selected to succeed the CEO in case of any eventuality. But as we speak, they're I think just 6 months. So would you consider somebody else, or this is a situation that you look at differently? They were not filled for the past like 4 years. We've not had director positions filled.
Okay.
So there were just maybe the next level of positions that were filled. But as from this year, we have them filled.
Okay. So what I would say, and I would like other people to contribute as well, please chime in. your case is unique, and it's new because then you've just got into the space of succession planning, and you didn't have that before. So you're coming in with a new structure of where you didn't have those positions, you filled in those positions now, and those are the positions, the four directors are the ones you're looking at succeeding the CEO in the event of anything, succession planning. Let's put it like that. Not in the event of anything, in succession planning. So that's okay, because then you didn't have that before. But also you're looking at in terms of they've been in the organization, so you know their strengths and you know their capabilities. That's very important. So that's your scenario is totally correct, and you can run with it. So let's take this other with less than 6 months in the organization. If your organization at senior levels, your probation period is 6 months, they will hardly have finished their probation. You will not have evaluated their probation. They are actually too new in that role, even if they move to another role. Then you will just be hopscotching people around, putting people in succession planning while they have not proved themselves in that position. Like in my organization, we have a policy: you cannot apply for another position within the group if you have not completed 2 years. Just because you've seen another attractive position, it's a higher grade, it pays more money, it's an expatriate position, you think, well, I'm going to apply. While last year, you just stepped up in another position, maybe in the same department, or maybe you went into a totally different department or unit or something like that. So we don't allow, because we want 2 years really for you to work in that position, for you to be able to go into another department. So that's that, but that doesn't stop you. I mean, because the talent pool is something totally different. You can be the talent pool, but you change your position within that, but you will not be considered for another position until 2 years are over. We also, however, and it's this is very alive, because the organization politics do come into place. You go and you're not gelling with your manager. What happens? All of a sudden, I have this job. I came from another department. We work very well with my manager. We had conversations, we had feedback, we had recognition. All of a sudden, I made a mistake. What do? And another job has come up. It's 1 year I've been trying, and another job has come up. I really feel that it suits me, or even if it was in my previous position. What would you do? Would you let that person apply? These are real scenarios at the workplace. Are they not? What would you do, Milka?
They are.
What would you do?
Yeah, Catherine, it becomes a little bit difficult because, again, you require that peaceful environment for you to be able to work.
Yeah.
But if that environment is not there for you, really, it becomes difficult. But I believe each and every organization has a grievance policy. You can always try and escalate that and try and solve that in a peaceful way, because again, you need that job, you need that supervisor. So sometimes it only takes you two sitting down and letting that person know that, well, this is not working well for me, and I would love you to treat me as a human being. Sometimes it works. Yes, so I would not quit the job because of someone else's attitude, but I would try and work around it. Unless it goes to the extreme of now affecting my emotions, affecting my delivery, then that I would leave. But for attitude, those ones I can manage. Yeah, maybe
I like the fact that you have brought in how the processes within the organization. We do have a procedure, grievance procedure. Do I start? Do I feel it? And for me to be known that this is not working for me, extremely important. Yeah, that's important. Am I able to have authentic conversation, open conversation? It's not going well for me. I feel that you don't treat me in this way. How can we work around it? You know, that's a fast basis of maturity, showing maturity. You know, and at what point do you meet this person? When is their best time to tell them, boss, I'd like to talk to you. Can we have a coffee in the canteen? What time can I book? Whatever. And you know at what point, and have that open conversation. I want you to succeed. But the way that the undercurrents, me and you working together, I don't feel too happy. Help me here and stuff like that. Very important. Someone else? Someone else? Please share. In sharing that we're able to just take these experiences back to our workplaces and to be able to see what it is. Some of us are more mature in the HR field, have more experience. Some of us are just starting off, so we need just to be able to mix and match our experiences and what we have seen. Someone else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Milka.
Yeah.
This has been through my mind since we began this process, this training.
Yeah.
And I've been asking myself, well, we've discussed all other factors, but I've seen some instances, you get someone placed in a position, yet there's a complete disconnect between that person and the job. Irrespective of the other factors considered, there is always, I think I call it, it's called what? Personality, Hana personality. Hana hayuko, you know. So this is one person that has all the qualifications. He has all the competencies, he has all the skills, he can think critically, but this person cannot drive an agenda. So how do you deal with that? Because again, you need this person, you'd want to at least develop them in one way or another, but you cannot, just because they're limited in areas of personality. Yani presence,
They have no presence, eh? I know that's the word I wanted to use. Yeah, they walk into a room, they have no presence, isn't it? You don't feel them. But what they have behind them, when you start talking to them, they can go to the moon and back, isn't it? I know what you mean, Milka. I also struggle with it, you know.
Sometimes they can only write, but they cannot deliver it, you get? So I find it difficult, because when you are sent in a meeting and you cannot drive what you can write, really, there's a disconnect between the two. And I don't know how we can merge this.
People's personality and ability to what they have, you know, and I hear you. Unfortunately, I have no answer. Please, the 95 of us on this webinar, help us to demystify personality against the competencies of a person who is so well qualified, but you can't send them to the board to sell an agenda. They are the person who have written the paper. The sessional paper is complete. We can rely on you to do it, but you're not able to put your point across. You know, like, have you ever seen an interview room, someone walks in and their personality and their presence just captivates you, isn't it? And someone walks in, their personality is, I don't want to use the word timid or weak or whatever. That's not what we are saying. Just the way you appear to other people. But when we start asking you questions, we just think, oh my gosh. So how do we marry these two things? And how do we make sure that, in which areas then do we put these people? Are they the advocates of our business? How do we just do this? I have no answer, Milka, actually.
Can I chime in on that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, maybe based on what you had already said about a competency pillar, and because we are talking about succession planning and we are preparing them to take those future roles, everyone has areas of development. So I think for me, how I'd look at it is to look at which areas are they good at and which areas that they are weak. And for this one is more of articulating what they've put down on paper. So perhaps I'll maybe say communication, and that executive presence being able to, represent us in the board. So that would be like an area of development, because they're in a talent pool. So they will be focusing on that. So maybe the next 6 months or 8 months would be preparing them and helping them develop that area that they need to work on, so that they're able to fulfill that position which we are earmarking them for. So that's how I would approach it.
Okay. Train them in that area of personal effectiveness, communication, ability to stand in front of people, say what it is and stuff like that. Do you think people can learn that? An individual can learn that?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Let
we
me
can hear
chime.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Christine.
Yeah.
Yes, so actually, yes, they can learn.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to enlighten Milka by saying, when you're identifying someone for a position in a company or in an organization or for future purposes, because I believe that's what succession planning is, it's important for you to do a SWOT analysis and a gaps analysis so that you can be able to find out what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, what opportunities they have for growth, and what are the threats when the opportunities for growth are not exploited. The gaps analysis will enable you to find out what they need in terms of training and coaching moving forward. Another thing that I also learned, because I believe in the previous webinar I had mentioned that where I'm working currently, we are doing a leadership and development program or project rather, is that it is important for you as a person who is identifying a talent pool to take up a position to enable these people to know more about themselves. I thank God that there are a lot of personality tests out here, MBTI tests, ISNEC tests, the 4 quadrants of personality, MBTI, the 16 types of personality. And then, of course, we also have work styles. I refer you to the Deloitte website.
Yeah.
There is something known as work styles. And sometimes everyone, personalities, as we came to learn in our organization, have affect or have a direct correlation to the way a person does their tasks and executes projects. So you have to identify their SWOTs and separate them from traits that they can't change. Okay, then build on the weaknesses through coaching and training, as Kinyanjui said.
Yeah.
But let us separate behavior and trait, because there are things that you cannot change about a person, but you can improve the way they communicate, you can improve the way they articulate their written work, and you can improve the way they execute what they have put across.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Christine, for just highlighting that in Kinyanjui around, and I hope, Milka, you can take some good pointers around how do we make sure that your presence in terms of you being able to look at the bigger picture, and I've also taken out pointers and stuff like that. So there are many tools that I would like us to continuously look at in organizations in terms of understanding people's personality. Extremely important, and I hope you do that at the interview stage if you can be able to afford to just really get to know who is this candidate, what ticks them, what annoys them, where are their strengths, where are their weaknesses. I'm sure maybe all of you know about the Johari windows, all those kind of personality tests that there are millions, they are open source in the internet. And I hope even you as individuals will be able to take them up over time and just say, who am I exactly? Am I really self-aware of who am I as a real good human being? How do I present myself? How do I show up? And how do people see me? Where's my emotional intelligence? How do I make sure that in this situation, I know this is going to go wrong. This is going wrong. Me as Catherine, this, I can't stand this, and this is very impatient. And I know that the red wire is about to be crossed, and this is how I react. But since I am in a team and I work in a team, how am I going to make sure that even my weakest point is being brought up right now, but how do I make sure that I'm able to accommodate this because this is what the team is saying? And I'm also able to say that I don't like this because this makes me pretty upset, and it's going to have a mental block for me. So when we have these conversations, and I know maybe we are talking about ideal situations, and our organizations are not ideal situations, our family are not ideal situations, the country is not ideal situation, the world is not ideal situation, but what role do I play? As long as I'm really self-aware of who I am, then it makes it really makes it makes a good way for us to be able to do that. I'll send a very good article that I don't know where I'll send it. I'll ask Dan. I'll send it to Dan, then maybe can share. And I came across around SWOT analysis for the business and for the individuals. Very well written out around when we have these 4 quadrants of looking at individuals and a business, but what kind of tools do we need to look at further for us to be able to interrogate that, for us to get to where we want to be? And it was really mind-blowing for me around, okay, fine, we've done a SWOT analysis. So what? So really what? I know that I am an impatient human being. I procrastinate, I judge, I do all those kind of things. And I know that I'm resilient, I'm brave and stuff like that. So what? What kind of tools do we need to use further for us to be able to do that? Just for your own reading, especially if you like reading like me, researching just new ways of doing things, that's very important. The 95 of us must reread. Thank you, Christine, for reminding us about the work styles at Deloitte, agility, open spaces, interactive working spaces, all those things. I mean, we must bring ourselves to the fore because it really helps open our mind around our workplaces, the kind of people that we work in, that leads us to get to the good place of succession planning. Okay? Yeah. Anybody else? So thank you for that. That's why I like this class, always rich of resources and rich of experiences. Anybody else? Before we move to the steps of succession planning in a very systematic way. Anybody else, please?
Just a last one on the length, because I think it also differs from sector to sector. But I liked what you said about 6 months, because we also have that one of 6 months, because it takes around 6 months for you to figure out a position, understand the organization, and then for you to come, to get comfortable in that role. So we have a minimum of 6 months, but we don't have a maximum because of the nature of our sector, where you have people getting 1-year contracts based on projects and renewed funding. So we have a minimum, but we don't have a maximum. At least we say serve at least 6 months in your present role before you can change and apply to another role. But I think for succession planning, it will have implications in how we look at it and seeing the current performance and maybe look at the maximum period, because you cannot say maximum where you don't have guarantee for renewed funding for people or for our staff. Yeah.
So you see again another curveball around how do we accommodate when we have shorter contracts where we know that this project runs for 5 years, and then after 5 years, definitely maybe we won't have further funding, or we'll have achieved our objectives, or we'll evolve into something new. And I worked in the NGO, so I can really truly relate into what you're saying: 2 years contracts, 2 year contracts, 1 year contract, 6 months contract to come and do something and whatever. And also people in the NGO sector will agree with me that towards the end of a project, people are always moving. I don't know whether we'll have new funding. I don't know whether whatever. So people are always looking. So how do we make sure that our talent pool and our succession planning is alive to those factors of a lot of movement around the workforce, manpower? We can't even sometimes have proper manpower planning. But again, sometimes it's so stable, even with those 1 year contracts, you find someone has served in that organization for 10 years, 15 years, isn't it? Yeah. So it depends again with the business and how attractive it is. So again, employee value proposition, extremely important for people to come and work for you, even if it is 1 year. They know that we're in this boat together, we will be able to drive it, funding will come and stuff like that. So well done. Okay. Anything else that I might have left out in the factors to consider? Kwa hivyo kama wewe unajichunge sana unless retire kama judge wa 72 years. So on a light note. Anything else? Okay. So let's talk about, and it's conversations, as I keep on saying, around succession planning. What do you think are some of the steps that we should consider in succession planning? Some steps? Steps, what are steps? Step 1, step 2, step 3, you know, in a systematic way, steps. Steps in succession planning. Okay, so I will I'll put them up, and then you can actually now let's have a discussion around. So do we want it in a step-fold approach, or we'll just say, well, let's have it. It's okay to have it, you know, we know it ad hoc in our heads and stuff like that. Is it important for us to have a step-in approach to succession planning? We agree it is, eh? Okay. So we'll look at some key steps that we need to follow in succession planning. And as I said last week, it is important for us to go in winning and don't reinvent the wheel. Never reinvent the wheel. I mean, reinvent the wheel based on the needs of your business and the strategy of your business, and looking at your competitor, what your competitor is doing, and because also your competitor is your comparator, don't forget. But if you want to make a policy in succession planning, all what we have been discussing from module 1 to module 2 and wrapping it up in module 3, which is next Saturday, take all this and put it in your policy. Because what we're talking about is dissecting the policy here and there, and then putting in experiences and what we know. So don't grapple too much. Don't want to. There are other things to be done. That's what I'm trying to say. So develop a communication strategy. Why is that important? And what is a communication strategy? Why is it important, and who comes up with a communication strategy? Is it HR? Is it corporate affairs? Is it the MD? Is it the communications department? What's a communication strategy in succession planning? Someone who has, please. Someone, please. They're there for the picks. Anyway, if it was in an exam, this will come in your, which unit will that be? I'll make sure that I go set the exams, and you'll thank me for being in this webinar, if anything else. Anyone? Communication strategy, please. It says what it is. Someone, please. Talk to me here.
Can I try?
Yes, yeah, please do.
Yeah, try. Imagine a communication strategy. You first agree on how you want to communicate as an organization. Will you have a spokesman, and where do you clear with before maybe you take things to press? The way of releasing information for the organization, who should clear that? And then if you should have ways in which people can communicate from the shop floor up if there's an issue, a channel for communication. And then if you are going to do succession planning, maybe people should understand how it is linked with the vision for the organization, something like that.
Communication strategy. at all levels, yeah, who communicates it? If it's an external one, who takes it out to the external parties who should be doing that, okay? Anybody else? Developing a communication strategy?
For me, I would look at it from the perspective of information management, how that information is managed through a policy or a structure that is already in place of how this would be managed. So it's information management contained within a policy or a structured way of how it's done.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. How it is done, what's going to happen and stuff like that. Someone else, communication strategy?
To add on that, Catherine, I think also that it shows who should relay the communication at what levels. If the communication is external, who should be the one to communicate? Or if the communication is going outside through written form, how it should be channeled through that way. Just to add on what they have said.
Thank you. That's true, yeah. The channels of communication. Anybody else? And do you have a communication strategy in the organization?
Okay, Kennedy. I think from succession planning, communication strategy entails how the information about succession is disseminated. For example, does the management keep their staff informed about the opportunities? Does the management keep the staff informed about the development activities, learning and coaching and development activities? So the communication between management and the staff concerning how they can develop within the organization. I think that is what it entails in the development of communication strategy. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with all of you what you have said. So we have come and we've all agreed in this organization, SCHRP, which now is the model of it's our company, like what we said. So we've all come and said succession planning is important, and this is it. And who's the technical person to lead it? It's HR, no doubt about it. And the board has agreed to it. The senior management is all on it. And then the communication from the bottom to the level up, everybody is aligned to that, internal, both written and verbal. And it's actually accepted that this is what we want to do for the organization. And why do we want to do this for the organization? Because of A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, this is what we see, the value that it will bring to the organization. So developing that communication strategy saying, we have succession planning, we have put it in place. This is the policy that we have in place. This is how it is going to work. This is the reason that we want it to work. This is the framework. So people have a point of reference on how it's going to be cascaded down from the top to the bottom, but also there is mechanism for feedback. So it's not just in isolation. And even when we are starting it, it is not four of us sitting at the corner crafting it. We have champions around it and saying, what do you think about succession planning? Even at the coffee pot, and this is how we should actually be, you should actually start it at your workplace if you don't have it. What do you think about succession planning? And I mentioned that, a head of department, you have succession planning in your department. What do you think would happen if you were to leave this organization? Or if you were to be promoted? In fact, start with, if you were to be promoted to another position, if you tell them to leave, they will think, Allah, kumbe, you've been discussing behind my back, you want me to leave. So, but of course, if you're buddies, if you're peers, you're having that conversation around, if you were to leave, if you were to be promoted, if you were not here, who do you think would take your position? And how have you developed that criteria? So these are things that we are talking informally, but we're also talking about informally and formally for people for people to understand and to start having acceptance. What are some of the things that really technical things that we'll be talking about that people might not understand? How do you dissect it to the layman's language for them to be able to understand? What's talent pool? What's the criteria of talent pools? What are competencies pillars? What are these gaps that need to be put? Some people don't know them. You know, they know them. Oh, it's going for that leadership training that will teach me how to be a better public speaker. Okay. In the leadership competency pillars is one of the things is ability to communicate clearly and concisely. Okay, fine. I am not that, but I can see that there will be a course needed for me to be, or maybe you need me to go into coaching or into mentorship programs and things like that. So it's a really communication strategy to gain and to get buy-in of the larger people who are going to be in this together. So, and for everybody to know that and understand that not all of you will be earmarked for succession planning, just a few of us, you know, and what does that do for the organization? So things like that. So thank you. How do you identify expected vacancies? So the next step is to identify expected vacancies. And if there's any question, if there's any experience, please throw in your experiences and stuff like that. Did your communication strategy backfire when you started having it, or people were just, so it's another thing that is being done by HR. It's the initiative, let them finish. Wakimaliza tutaendelea, wataleta ingine na tutakuwa tumemaliza. Do you feel like that? Or it's just accepted because you involved everybody from the beginning and you showed them the bigger picture? If you have anything to add, please do. Please unmute yourself, just time in. And as we go to the next step, identify expected vacancies. How do we identify expected vacancies?
For this one, I think this is where I see a huge collaboration between HR and other heads of business units, because you might not have visibility that, for example, business development wants to go into new markets and they're going to need new roles. So this is a point where there's a lot of collaboration that's needed so that you're able to know what's the strategic direction each business unit is going to take, or even the entire organization. If you're going to venture into new markets and you're going to need new staff or new competencies coming in, and we might need to promote some of them and prepare them for this, taking up these new positions. And maybe to give an example, if you're going to expand into Tanzania, and we have a deputy who's been really good, we start preparing them for that and knowing that there's an upcoming vacancy in Tanzania. So just to give an example. But then you need to talk to maybe the head of emerging markets to know that this is the direction that they're going. So this is how I see that collaboration, so that you can have the big picture.
Yeah. Manpower planning, collaboration with other departments, business development. Remember also identifying the risks around. So what are the risks for the business? And what do we see? And some people say, I need 20 people for me to be able to work. But when you start working with them, they just realize, not 20, in fact, we need 30. Not 30, in fact, we only need 5. And now they see exactly what it is, because also vacancies come with budgets, total cost to employment and stuff like that. So identifying expected vacancies depending on the strategy of the business and the growth of the business. Again, something also happened. The pandemic started and things totally changed. Some people were lucky that their businesses still kept afloat and they did much more. So those are some of the risks that we didn't know. Did we know what March was going to come? April, May, June, July, really dark days, and we kept building the blocks of the ship one day at a time. Nobody had answers. Oh, this is now the block to build on this ship, because we found a solution and stuff like that. So we must also think as HR practitioners and the technical people who are able to do that, look at the risk. Of course, we don't have a crystal ball, but last week I really implored on everybody to say, one of the things that we must start thinking in HR is, if this was to close today, what would happen? A pandemic came. What did you learn out of that risk? Your business continuity and stuff like that. So you cannot run away from thinking about the risks, the possibility, what would happen around that and stuff like that, okay? So thank you, Anthony, for that. Determining critical positions very quickly. We all know critical positions. Are you a critical position in your organization? Oh, nah, HR is critical in whatever. All of us 5 are critical. They can't let us go. Determine critical positions. In a nutshell, how do we determine? Everybody knows how to determine critical positions in the organization? Anyone? Anyone who's not spoken, please? Critical positions, we've been talking about them from day one. Sarah Sayo, anything about that one? Khalif, I'm just picking up names as I scroll through the list of participants. To determine critical positions after identifying the expected vacancies. Anyone? Please unmute yourself.
I think I can contribute here by saying, whenever you have process mapping for the whole organization, it comes out clearly what the critical positions are and where now the top level HR manpower concentrates on. So when you don't have this process mapping done, you can undervalue the work of a critical position unknowingly. So I would suggest that people may probably understand a flow charting of process mapping of an organization's HR.
Exactly. Carol, do you want to maybe just elaborate what process mapping is for people who may not really understand what process mapping is? Or anybody else? But let's start with you.
Okay. Say we normally have ideally what we call job descriptions, and they look more like objectives. But when now you are looking at what a person does and the feedback, the intra-out-tra kind of relationship, the way people relate in their workflows is what maybe constitutes a process mapping. You map this onto that, and then you realize this particular position is critical. So if this person leaves, this entire department may actually not be able to deliver. So it comes from mapping all critical duties that are done within a department in a flow diagram, in a flow chart. That's the way I do it. Like for instance, if I give an example, maybe to drive the point home, if you are looking at clearing and forwarding department, the position which you call customer service is not a receptionist like the other places. Yeah, the customer service person is actually the one who deals from the sourcing perspective of the client to giving the people who actually determine the logistics of how documents flow, and they are the ones that actually critically talk to the customer. So when that ideally happens, it means the person who occupies that position, that's a critical position. If you pick the wrong person for that, you will actually be jeopardizing other good people within the organization. That would be my 2 cents.
Very true. Yeah. So process mapping within jobs. The job description is just one document that really highlights what someone is supposed to be doing. But the real job, how does it flow from my hands into the next hand, and stuff like that. So we have a process map of saying this position really collaborates very strongly with this department. It has a heavy dotted line to this department. It has staggered lines within this department. So we really know how those jobs, whatever. It takes a lot of time and effort to do process mapping. And if I ask you, when is the last time you did process mapping of jobs in the organization, people will even ask me, what are those? Many people ask me, what are those? Is it necessary? It's necessary for you really to determine and to let people know that your job is not a critical position because of this. You get what I mean? Because everybody wants their job to be a critical position, but there must be a criteria and a process flow of for you to really know that this is a critical position, you know, and which really informs the business and informs the strategy of your business. Yeah. So thank you. Anybody else? I think then we should have a seminar on a process mapping. Very important. Someone else? Priscilla, you wanted to say something?
I
wanted to add.
Yeah. Okay.
Who will go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to add or to ask, can I say that a critical position is the one that that has a person who can lead the organization to its achievement and thereby linking the achievement of the organization to the country's Vision 2030. Catherine, you're hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Some internal
Yeah. Can we say that that's a critical position that links the company's vision into its achievement, and in the meantime or on the process, links the company's vision into the country's vision, like now we are having 2030 vision.
Mm-hmm. The four big agenda.
The four, yeah.
Okay, that's I'll pack that and then we take the others, and then I'll come back to you and ask other people to contribute. Kennedy, do you want to
Can I contribute?
Yes, please.
Thomas?
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah. I have a different perspective because what I think is when you are identifying a critical position, you look at a certain criteria. Like the first criteria could be the impact of that position to the business. Does it have an impact so that if it is missing in the organization, what will be the effect of that vacancy? So, for example, you could look at the urgent need for that particular position. And then other than that, you look at availability of that particular of competencies outside there to fill that position. Do we have external candidates available to fill the position? Other than that, you look at availability of internal candidates. Do we have candidates that can fill that position? You could also look at another bit on the skill set for that position. Is it a unique skill set? So that now you could even come up with a scoring criteria, given those 5 elements that I've given, indicating, and you can even score. Like in my organization, Kenya Ferry Services, the most critical position from an analysis that we did is coxswain, the people who pilot the ferries. And that was based on the uniqueness of the skill set. It was based again on internal availability of people with that skill internally and externally. And on the other hand, now the impact of that skill in the business. So that's how I look at it. And now when you score, you will be surprised. You could even say that HR is a critical position, but when now you do the scoring and you do the ranking, you discover that some positions that are even lower are more critical than positions that are high in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Timothy, for just validating what we said from last week's module, where we said that a low-ranking position in terms of the grading in the organization and the money that it earns is a critical position because of what it does for the business compared to a higher graded position and commands more responsibility and authority. There's no question about it. So for you to be able to know your critical positions and whatever, and this is the worldwide expected criteria for actually looking at how you identify critical positions in the business. And you've also, one more that I would like to add is the risk aspect of if I didn't have it, what is the risk to the business? And then after that, the process mapping. Now, process mapping, actually, after you have this criteria, then you look at your process mapping and say, how is it collaborating with other departments? So to go back to Priscilla's whatever question, I hope it has been answered now more elaborately, like the position, how do you identify a critical position to fill into the big four agenda of the country, for example, especially if you're in that maybe public sector, and I believe every business exists to make a difference in the community that they are in, but also make a profit. I think that's also important. Why do businesses exist? That's the one question that people have always asked for. Is it to make a profit? Is it to innovate? Is it to make things better? But it's actually the first most important, and someone has said in this research, is businesses exist so that they can actually make an impact in the communities that they are serving, or whatever, whether products or services and stuff like that. So why do we want to have critical positions in the business? Is it just to be fashionable? No, it's not fashionable. What we want to have is a place where we know that if XYZ was to leave the organization, we already know that this can be filled in. And please give me a minute. Let me just give me a minute, guys. How was I managing my succession planning around where I am? So anyway, so back to where I'm saying is that it's important for you to identify a strong criteria for your critical positions. The most important thing, even when we have these standard criteria for identifying critical positions, and please bear me witness, is the scoring and the ranking and the rating. So people want to take sides, and that's where politics comes in. And maybe Thomas would give us an experience, because K-Berry is a well-known organization. It's a parastatal, and we just want to hear how the scoring and the ranking, was there any politics around it, where you think, oh, the MD has been positioned, the scoring is less than the pilot of the ferry, the coxswain, how is that possible? And people do not just understand. So how do we make sure that we drive this point home around the business objectives, the demand of that job, how rare it is how difficult is it to train, how many years of work experience of that? And that is where the big push and pull around the scoring and lack of objectivity comes in. And what happens? We abandon it and just say, okay, fine, it's not working. We can't agree. So let's agree to disagree. That's not what we want. You want to go in and say, this is how it's going to be. This is the scoring. And if another lower job takes the premise of it's the first one in this organization and the MD is third, people need to understand it. But you're all critical positions. But how critical it is if we don't have this XYZ in the organization, then our business is going to fail. Any experience around critical positions and around the scoring and the ranking? and people taking sides. Thomas, maybe you can tell us without putting you on the spot, but putting you on the spot in a subtle way. Or anybody else? Priscilla, did we answer your
maybe
question?
the only
Maybe
the only problem is that people associate the ranking with more benefits. So that's where the politics come in. But if you try to use that process, especially for succession planning, and you try to base it on the same, then and the way you communicate it, and that's why you said there is a process of succession planning, and the first is the communication strategy. And communication is key, because depending on how you will communicate all this, then you are either going to be successful or you're going to fail. So we all know, like in our organization, we all know that the people who pilot the ferries are actually part of the core business of our organization. Because when you look even at HR, there are quite a number of elements that we can outsource. So, and HR is a support of the core. So, where depending on how you will communicate the ranking. People will either accept it, or now you are bound to fail. But it is good that you associate the same, especially with succession planning. But I know some people, especially confuse the same with job evaluation, because this is just to determine the critical positions for the sake of succession planning. So when people start confusing it with job evaluation, that's where now politics come in. But whatever you do, in most cases, HR, whatever you do, in most cases, when you present reports, even when you are restructuring the organization, there is always politics. Thank you.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So I agree. Some people, when they do the critical positions, they think it's terms of job evaluation. And of course, in job evaluations, we always come up with critical positions so that it's the right way to get to the grading structure and also the salary structure. But if it's all sitting on the premise of succession planning, we are not talking about reward. We are not talking about you getting to the next level. What we are saying is that we need to prepare you for the next position in the organization. And what comes out in succession planning, if you don't take anything again today, is the kind of training that we will need to provide to the people who have been identified for succession planning in the organization. That's all. That will be your biggest headache as the HR who's providing the guidance and the feedback, okay? If there is no other question, any other comment around that, allow us to move in the interest of time. We don't have too many minutes remaining.
Thank you. Allow me to just make a contribution.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a very good discussion, and I also want to agree with the contributions from Thomas that he just gave us. And I also want to agree that, yes, there will be politics around it, and there will also be money involved. If you look at the criteria that Thomas has just highlighted, which I fully concur with, we'll just be looking at the, if you look at the impact of business of that this position has, that means this position is actually attracting revenue. If you look at the issue of availability for both internal and external pools, where you'll be able to fix and recruit for this position, that means if you go to the scales of demand and supply, then you'll have to pay more if the skills are limited. But I want to move further from that
and allow us to think about then how maybe do you make your position a critical position? Because yes, maybe and you have Catherine, you've given a very good example. Even in HR, how do we make ourselves a critical position? Yes, they could be very many people who are qualified, but you yourself as a HR practitioner, how do you make your position critical? And maybe we need to think apart from just the structure that we have highlighted, the value that you're giving into the position and the way you are able to provide for solutions. Because yes, we could have so many people and pools available, but at the same time, someone you will go to an office and someone will always be saying, I want to be attended by a certain person. If this person is there, I know things will get done. I think as we look at that, apart from just looking at the framework of what constitutes a critical position, yes, the position, in my view, the position could be available, and we could be able to get so many people who have qualified with degrees, and maybe also have a skill set. But are they providing are they part of the solution when a problem arises? And that is, in my view, that is what makes a position more critical. And you say, and I want to give an example of where I work. I work at Temperature Hospital. You would agree with me that there is that one doctor you will want to book with a clinic. Not to say that the other doctor is not qualified, but the way they are also the interpersonal skills and the way they are able to relate with the client, then you will always find that when this doctor is in a clinic, the clinic is fully booked. When we have another doctor, the numbers are changing or are reducing. So thank you. I am really enjoying the contribution and the discussion.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So I quickly want to, again, I like validating what we say in these webinars around, so critical position is really organizational based. Very, that one we cannot take it away. Then what kind of people are we going to put in our talent pool? Factors, you remember? Factors to consider for succession planning, the age, the passion, the attitude. So the people, even if we know it's a critical position, someone needs to mute. Okay, thank you for allowing your children to come into this webinar. I love you guys, and they are learning from us. Thank you for muting. So what I'm trying to say is that, so we have the critical positions, and we have 5 people in this department. This position, this department has been earmarked as critical department, and it has to have a critical position. So whom do we determine out of the 5? So let me just read out of this, the first 5 who, there's Priscilla, there's Catherine, there's Thomas, and there's Kennedy on my screen right now. So all of us, so these are the factors now we come and validate. Everybody who wants to be seen, it's always Kennedy. Kennedy exudes the passion, the attitude, the teachable ability, and naturally, Kennedy gets picked from the 4 of us. The 4 of us should not complain. You remember developing a communication strategy? We're able to say fair and square. Kennedy was picked over 5 of us because he met this criteria, and this is what we were looking for. So you see how the validation and how all these things actually come into play around our succession planning. So thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else before I move into identify current trends and future competencies for positions? Very quickly, if there's nothing else, one of the things that we fail in point number 4 is identify current and future competencies for the position. So we are so good at identifying the current competencies for the position, but we are not good at identifying future competencies for the positions. And every time I hear this, you know what people say? I'm not a magician. I don't know what future competencies will come into it. Today, right now, after you finish this, you must check into the World Economic Forum, start even from 2017 to 2019, the skills that will be needed for the future. The gig economy is here. Will people want to work for you 24/7, 365? Will they come and say, I'll only work for you for two days a week, and the rest of the 5 days and the rest of the 3 days I'll go somewhere else? We must think about the future competencies. But how do we make sure that, how do we identify future competencies for the business? I'm not a magician either, and I agree with that statement. So how am I supposed to know the future competencies for HR? And that is where it ends. Me, I see very good competency pillars for all the positions in organizations, but I am not able to see, every time I ask, what would be some of your future competencies that you will need for this business? And people start thinking, Allah, so we'll address them as we meet the future. So COVID came, a good example, COVID came. Did we think that we would, we have had to develop new set guidelines of competencies for some businesses because of COVID? Some will be as a result of the condition, the conditions that we find ourselves into, but are we able to start determining those competencies that might be needed for the future? Someone? Is there a magician in this webinar today to help us at least? How do we identify future competencies for the business and for the positions, for succession planning? Someone help us, please. What are some of the ways that we can do that?
I would suggest that if the HR understands the strategic plan, you know, those strategic plans that are done for 10 years, 20 years, or wherever, is a way of looking into the future of that organization and what will be expected. So it would be a bird's eye view, in my view, to looking at the future competencies that would be needed to drive that agenda.
True. Yeah. One of the easiest ways to look at the strategic plan of the organization, what also your customers are saying, your clients, your stakeholders, what the industry is really saying. Now the 5G is here. For example, let me challenge you. The 5G is here. 5G is coming. 5G is already here. What are we talking about 5Gs? Have we looked at some of the competencies that are going to change? So don't just be drawn into the present right now. We must think of the strategy, and strategy is, well, if you have a strategy for more than 5 years, then it becomes very difficult for us to be able to, it's not a good strategy. I don't think strategies should run more than 10 years or something. We find 5-year strategies, 3-year strategies for us to be able to be very alive to that fact. Yeah, so thank you for that. Something else? Something else?
Catherine?
Yeah?
Catherine, this is
yes,
Judy.
Yeah, hi, Judy.
Yes. Yeah, hi. Now, the company strategy, of course, as mentioned, that is very key, but I'm thinking also global trends. We cannot ignore the fact that the globe is one village. There is so much that is changing every now and then that actually impacts that strategy going forward. It could be a 5-year, 10-year plan, but somewhere midway or probably 3 years down the line, just something changes within the global environment. So I think it's good for us to be conscious of what's going on, even as we seek to understand the kind of competencies that we need to bring on board on our organizations.
Exactly, yeah. Global trends, strategies, looking at your competitors, what they are doing. There's too much. Read, explore with your peers, simulate models that if this was to happen, this is what will happen. Things like that. Go out of your comfort zone to be able to get to the next level, and that's the only way that you will add value, like the guy from the Mpisha Hospital, sorry, I've just forgotten your name, please pardon me. How do I position myself to be a real business partner where we think, Allah, this already was, he already said it. I mean, we can't let him go, oh my gosh, he's the go-to person. You get what I mean? So we must position ourselves by reading, researching, peering, looking, thinking deeply, critical thinking, all these things that we have been talking about for us to be able to know what competencies will be needed for the future. We all don't know that. It's important for, even if it's just one, and to start thinking, what kind of training, how does it look? Who's going to provide this training? How are we going to get support to be able to do that, okay? So the last five, the last couple of more is develop a recruitment strategy for those positions. If you don't have, especially have them internally, it's important for us to be able to do that. And of course, you have your recruitment strategy is already in place, recruitment and selection. So some positions, as we said, you'll have to look externally, bring people in, but always, as much as possible, try and look internally, because it motivates people. It makes people feel that they are valued. You buy their loyalty, they give you much more. So unless you really have to look outside, always start internally before you go externally. Okay, create assessment and selection tools. Extremely important for us to be able to create assessment tools around how people are going to get into that talent pool, because there must be a criteria, not just because, oh, we like Catherine, you know, she's a good team player and whatever, and people just know because of Catherine's as we call it, she's very inefficient. She hides behind her inefficiency. She can't make decisions, but because she's a politician and people think at the top, they really don't see what she doesn't deliver, but she just makes noise around, and she thinks, and people think that she's working. So there must be an assessment and selection tools put in place for people to know that this is a good candidate to go into there, whatever. And this selection and these assessment and selection tools, they must also look at the personality aspect of the people that you're bringing in. So they cannot just be technical tools, but they must also look at passion, attitude, you know, ability to be teachable, all those things that we talked about. Supplement HR function to include active recruitment and staffing. You know, other people, other departments collaborate with the people who will be who are already in the business to be able to do that. So no doubt about it that HR is just offers the technical guidance because they are the expert, but other people must be actively involved for you to be able to get the right people in your succession planning. And then identify gaps in current employment and candidature competency levels that we cannot overemphasize. Ability to look at where the employee is and the candidate competency levels for you to be able to make sure that the training programs or the coaching programs or whatever programs are going to be put in place are actually meeting your succession planning intentions of what you want to achieve in the future. So again, every person, if they don't have a personal development plan, it is going to, you're setting yourselves up for failure. There will be no way that you can develop a real good succession plan and it is not individualized. Because everybody will have a different learning platform and learning capability and where they are. Some people will be at an accelerated place, the people will be starting at the bottom and stuff like that. And you must hold everybody accountable. But if you bring all of us together, remember that we come from different departments, we have different skill sets, we have different experiences. So every person in your succession planning program must have an individual development plan. Develop and implement coaching and mentoring programs. Don't I just love it? If you need a coach, I am here. Please Let me know if you have those programs, and I'm happy to guide you and I'm happy to help you. That is what we are here to just draw on everybody's networks. And the last two is assist with leadership, transition, and development. Ability to let people know that you are doing well. Do you remember the CFR? Extremely important, comes in here for us to be able to see it's not just at that level, but leadership, transition, and development. Take all those cases we have described, a CEO saying, I'm going to go, how do we transit into this, politics coming into place, letting people know that it's all about leadership and that's where we want to go. And finally, develop an evaluation plan. If you don't evaluate, then you won't know whether you're succeeding or not. So important that we develop that, okay? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions before we wrap it up? Any questions? Was it useful? Was it not useful? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? I'd like some feedback from all of you.
Okay. It's Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah, the session has been good, but I would request if we can get some reference books. No, it's good to keep on learning. So if we can get some reference books from your coaching,
yeah,
it will
okay.
help us to further our knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll promise to send some very good books on coaching. I'll send the list to Dan. Promise, and then he can drop them in this seminar or even in the Telegram. I think we have a big Telegram. So if you're not there, you can ask Dan to add you to that platform. But I promise to share some really good, easy reads, for coaching books. Yeah, I'll do that. Another comment, was it useful? What did you learn from it?
Priscilla, again, it looks like I like talking so much. I'm always talking.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Yeah, it was so useful to me, especially when you talked about evaluation not being a succession plan. And I'm so grateful for learning about succession and also knowing why when you're three candidates and maybe number one is emerged the number one and number three, they decide to pick on number three. Now I know why they decide to do that. It is because of maybe this person is a critical, is in a critical position holder. At least I'm glad to learn that. I'm also glad to learn about the World Economic Forum. I didn't know I can get some useful information from there. But then I think, did you mention if it is it a website, web or is it an internet?
It's just go to Google and say World Economic Forum skill sets or something like that, and you will get them and you can follow them. I don't know whether they have any social platforms. I don't follow them, but it's a real good place to get some good information.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
They have their pages you can follow.
Yeah, they do. Oh, thank you, Priscilla. You see, yeah, I'll start following them on their social media platforms. They're really nice. And please follow John Maxwell. He's got 1 minute leadership tips and stuff like that. I'm sure you do. So I like him a lot. He's 1 minute and whatever. Thank you. I have learned a lot from CFR. Fantastic. Well done. I'm happy. Yeah. Anybody else before we hand it over to Dan?
It was a very enjoyable session. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. You're most welcome, Alice. Always nice to interact with all of you. Dan, are you on the line? Dan? I think Dan just dropped. Okay. I think Dan dropped. I can't see him on the line. see him. I think he didn't have very good internet stability today. So thank you very much. Let's keep the conversations going. Let's get to module 3 and recap on it. This week, I challenge you to relook at your succession planning again. If you don't have a plan around your positions and around in your organization, please start thinking through it informally and formally. And let's recap next week and see where we are at and whether we've been able to improve. So thank you all for your contribution. Blessings for the weekend, and we see you next Saturday live and whatever. I really enjoyed myself, for sure. I really enjoyed myself. So back to all of you to do your good stuff. Okay, thank you. God bless you. You can unmute, say bye, and as we leave.
Bye. Thank you, Mwalimu. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Catherine. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate. Thanks for coming. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
That's nice. Bye. Awesome.
Bye.
Totally awesome. I like you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you again. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. So bye. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah. God bless you. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Same to you. Bye.
Thank you. You're
Bye.
welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate. Awesome. Mary, I like your girls. They are so cute. See you, Carol. Have a good weekend. See you, Khalif. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye, Irene. Take care.
You too.
Bye, Carol. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you. Have a great weekend. Take care. See you. See you, Bonnie.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. See you. Thank you.